All right. Welcome, everyone, to Breaking the Cycle. I'm Lee Moore Elman, and I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor. I am a longtime career-long educator, and my coaching practice is Family Food Freedom, where I coach women and their families on how to reject dieting, embrace intuitive eating, and feel empowered in their bodies, regardless of their size or shape. This is my free masterclass designed to give you a taste of my approach to coaching body image and how it can help you. This is 45 minutes, and I'll talk for around 20 minutes, and then leave the rest of the time for Q&A. I am fat. I call myself fat because my goal is to destigmatize the word fat. Fat is merely a neutral descriptor. And I am proud to be part of the movement of people who are reclaiming the word. Fat does not automatically mean I am bad or unhealthy. As a matter of fact, I'm healthy. I consider this talk and my coaching essentially eating disorder prevention. Dieting, which is at the root of why we are here now, is a gateway to eating disorders. Unfortunately, eating disorders are on the rise and affect, hey, Missy, children at a younger age every year because dieting is a huge part of our culture. You'll hear me talk about diet culture a lot more in a couple of minutes. I want to say that I'm excited to be offering free 30 or 60-minute Zooms to explore your body and food trust issues or any concerns you have with yourself or your children. The purpose of these calls is for me to guide you in some foundational understanding of your body concerns and how I might be able to help you. So I'm going to put that info in the chat. Okay. We are going to have a Q&A at the end of my talk, which will be in about 20 minutes. But if you have questions in the meantime, please put them in the chat and I will try to get to them. Sometimes I'm not so great about it, but we'll see. All right, so a couple of disclaimers. First of all, I must tell you that I am not a substitute for medical care or mental health care. If you think you need that care, please seek that out. I'm also going to give you a workbook. I don't like PowerPoint. I think it takes away from the experience. So instead, I create a workbook that you can have. It'll be online and all yours. Just let me know if someone can give me a thumbs up to let me know that it actually works. That link. Great. I'd love to know the age and location, the ages of your kids and your location, if you don't mind, if you could put that in the chat so we could just get to know each other that way. And also, I will be sending a recording out to everybody who registered, so look out for that. All right. I also want to let you know that in Maplewood and South Orange, I run a Facebook page called Soma Body Liberation that has about 110 people in it, and I welcome you to join it, even if you're not in the area. All right, so today I'm going to talk about how to develop a body image that is one that you want to pass down to your children. I know how hard it is to stop the generational transfer of damaging body messages. I am the product of having gone to Weight Watchers with my mother by her hand when I was 16 years old. I am the product of weight cycling for 30 years. 30 years of dieting, of gaining weight and losing weight over and over and over, finding success in dieting until I didn't. I thought throughout that entire 30 years, and I'm 53, that I was broken, that I was the only one in the world who was broken and dealing with this weight thing until I finally realized that that wasn't the case, and that indeed it was diet culture that was making me broken. I developed an awareness that I no longer was the problem. My body was not the problem. It was the world around me and weight stigma that was impacting me. Weight stigma is the social construct that was weighing heavily on me, literally, and backed by large industries. There was nothing wrong with my body. There is nothing wrong with my body now. When I realized that it was diet culture that was gripping me, I had to do something about it. I saw the reason for change in me, the reason for me to change my thoughts about my body, not to change my body, but to change the beliefs I had about my body that were based on the systemic oppression called diet culture. At that time, this is a couple of years ago, my kids were starting to believe also that their bodies had to change, had to be smaller. I had to change my own thinking in order for my kids to change theirs. Like you, I am my children's number one role model. So I had to start working on me first. I want to talk a little bit about body positivity, body neutrality, and body love. The distinction, I think, is really important. Body positivity, in my opinion, has been co-opted by diet culture, period. Body love, in my opinion, is really hard to achieve in diet culture. So instead, I like to focus on body neutrality. But what does that even mean? I think it kind of is a buzzword. So actually, what I instead focus on within like the body neutrality concept is body trust and respect. I think body love is radical and maybe too radical for where we are in this moment. The focus on appearance in our culture creates such self-critical human beings that I find body love too difficult to come by for the majority of people. Body trust, on the other hand, means having your own back, believing in yourself, not because you are smaller or cuter or because you have a great new outfit, but because you really deeply believe in yourself. Body respect means creating ways in which you can show your body that you appreciate it for what it gives you, regardless of what you look like and what you weigh. Now, I want to share with you something that is, in my mind, also radical and transformational. And it's at the core of this entire presentation. In fact, if you decide to leave right now or not listen to the rest of this, what I'm about to say will sum up the entire concept that I'm trying to teach you. So here it is. Your internalized anti-fat bias is the number one thing that is getting in the way of raising your kids with body respect and trust. When I say internalized, I mean that you are telling yourself over and over and over again that you believe that fat is bad. But really, there's no morality attached to body shapes or sizes. Bodies are allowed to exist in this world in any shape or size. You are not automatically bad or unhealthy living in a larger body. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure you know this, the BMI has been debunked. And tons of studies now show us that body size is not a predictor of health. But still, we're in diet culture because remember, it's backed by all these gigantic industries, healthcare industry, beauty industry, and I can go on, fitness industry, wellness industry. So it's tough living in a larger body. The bullying, the looks, the shame, the internal criticism. I know you want to protect your kids from the struggles of living in a larger body. I've been there and I really get it. But the hard truth, you guys, is that you can't control your children's bodies. And trying to control them can actually harm their relationship with food and with themselves. Why? Because of this incredible superpower we have called body trust. Body trust. The idea of controlling one's body is often a concept rooted in diet culture, which promotes discipline, restriction, willpower, and the idea that we can force our bodies to look in a certain way or behave a certain way. But body trust and respect focuses instead on the idea that our bodies are complex, dynamic systems that often actually resist control. Bodies are constantly responding to internal and external cues, hormones, genetics, the environment, life stressors, sleep, many of which are outside of our control. What we can control is how we respond to our body's signals and how we treat them. For example, you can choose to honor your hunger or fullness cues. You can choose to engage in movement that feels good. You can choose to cultivate self-compassion and respect for yourself and your body rather than punishing yourself with rigid rules. We can develop a more attuned and respectful relationship with our bodies. This shift is freeing. It's more freeing than striving for control, which tends to lead to disordered eating and body image issues. So to sum, you can't control your body, and diet culture makes you believe that you can. Plus the idea that diet culture tells us that fat is bad. So we have tons of oppressive systems forcing themselves upon us. To combat this, I am going to dive into my 4-step system, and this is where you can open your workbooks. And this system is based on my training and research that I've done in the fields of emotional regulation, cognition, and self-compassion. Self-compassion being my favorite. So the first step, actually, I want to look at the workbook with you to make sure all right, yes. So the first step, just take a sip of water, is step 1 is to uncover the root cause of your body dissatisfaction and understand how it impacts both you and your children. Frankly, this is where a coach comes in, like me. It's hard to sit around thinking about like journaling or getting reflective to create a new way of thinking about your body. But I want you to know that I don't dive into your past like a therapist would. But I find it really helpful to understand why you are here. It takes the edge off for a lot of people and makes your current experience just much clearer. It's helpful to do like an inventory of how you got here and how diet culture has impacted you. I told you about my past. I've done that. I find it really helpful. I want to define diet culture, which is in a few pages, you'll have to move forward. I didn't put it exactly there. Diet culture, I think it's really important to understand the definition of diet culture, which I've taken from one of the gurus in the anti-diet movement, Christy Harrison. Diet culture is systemic oppression that worships thinness and equates it to health and moral virtue. Diet culture promotes weight loss as a means of attaining higher status. And this means that you're compelled to spend a lot of time, money, energy to shrink your body, even though actually we have a lot of research that almost no one can sustain intentional weight loss for more than a few years. 98% of dieters regain the weight in 2 to 5 years, and two-thirds of them gain even more weight. Diet culture demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others, which means you're forced to be hyper-vigilant about your eating, ashamed of what you're eating, and distracted from your pleasure in eating, and then actually your purpose in life and your power. And in this definition, I like to talk about how diet culture places food in categories of good and bad, healthy and unhealthy. And this categorization prevents us from tapping into what we want and developing that body trust. Remember that I told you that is so important. Diet culture oppresses people who don't match up with its supposed picture of quote unquote health, which disproportionately harms lots of marginalized people, damaging mental and physical health. All right. So, number one, again, uncover the root of your body dissatisfaction. Figure out how diet culture has impacted you. Number two in the 4-step process is to redefine your body's purpose. On pages 2, 3, and 4 of the workbook, I have a body assessment that was written by my mentor. Her name is Stephanie Dodier. And when you have time, not now, I'd love for you to take the body assessment so that you know where you are along the path to developing body neutrality, body trust, respect. Body liberation, in my opinion, is very hard to achieve, and many people do not achieve it. I'm not even going to go into the definition of it. It's not important, but you will see that language on the assessment. Right now, what I would like you to do is to take 1 or 2 minutes and to answer the question, why do you have a body? Why do you have a body? So if you don't mind taking out a pen and piece of paper, jot down some ideas. Why do you have a body? And I'll give you about 90 seconds. Why do you have a body? All right, when you're ready, you can put your ideas in the chat if you'd like, or you don't have to. I'm going to tell you why I think I have a body. I think I have a body in order to find pleasure, in order to learn, in order to experience new things, to move joyfully most of the time, to eat joyfully, to dance, to hike, to be in my community, to have relationships. That is why I have a body. I do not have a body so that I can entertain others. I don't have a body so that I can conform to standards. I don't have a body to be an ornament. Number three. So after you have uncovered the root cause of your body dissatisfaction, you've redefined your body's purpose, asked your question, why do I have a body? You perhaps took the assessment. You can do that later. Number three, reframe your thoughts to shift your actions and learn emotional regulation strategies. All right. So this is the basis of my coaching and the kind of coaching that I have training in. This is called cognitive behavioral coaching. Cognitive behavioral coaching is essentially the idea that your beliefs are based on your thoughts and are creating your actions. So in order to change your actions and get different results, you need to start adopting a new way of thinking. This is not concrete. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes understanding. Right now, you might have unintentional thoughts about your body that you want to change into thoughts that are intentional and rooted in trust and respect. In order to do this, you have to start really small. And a lot of the reframing can start with a sentence like, I am becoming a person who believes I have a body to enjoy life. So this idea that you're becoming this person, it's very hard to go from believing one thing to believing another. So we take a very graduated approach. It's like a ladder towards getting to the new beliefs. And we also talk about limiting beliefs, comparing. These are some common ones: comparing, all or nothing thinking, jumping to conclusions, blaming your body, catastrophizing, etc. Also, in this step, reframing your thoughts to shift your actions, I talk a lot about self-compassion. And I like to talk about Kristin Neff's work. Kristin Neff does a lot of research, and she actually is a pioneer in self-compassion. Kristin Neff, and you can find a lot of free videos actually online, says that there are three main concepts to self-compassion: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Self-kindness teaches us that we can be kind to ourselves just the way we are kind to people, other people, our friends, or our children. Developing an understanding of our common humanity recognizes the idea that suffering and imperfection are part of the shared human experience. Mindfulness, the final concept in Kristin Neff's self-compassion definition, mindfulness is about being aware of painful thoughts and emotions and not over-identifying with them. Step 4 in the 4-step process: tear down the old narrative and develop a plan for small, radical steps towards body trust and respect for you and your family. Your new narrative has to be a part of you. You have to truly believe in this new concept of yourself. You have to believe that change is important and that you want it. You have to act as if change is happening now. You have to be your own motivator. And this is where coaching comes in beautifully. Because in order to feel empowered, it's a good idea to feel it from somebody who's been there and done it. It's a good idea to, if you want this badly, to have a coach who understands what it takes to get there. That's the 4-step process. And I will end with the notion just here for you that this is hard. It's hard for so many reasons, and primarily because it's so countercultural and thus isolating and often met with resistance. And this is normal. It's part of the process, part of any change. The good news now, though, is that we have an anti-diet movement. We have anti-diet coaches. This is becoming a field of study, sort of. And it's a very exciting time in the body redefinition, body image creation world. I want to also say that I could not have done any of the change that I did without support because I was being asked to flex muscles that had never been flexed before. So that was about 25 minutes. I'm going to end right there. I will also say that in the workbook, you will see a couple of pages of self-reflection kind of activities. And then I gave you a whole lot of body neutral parenting tips that I was hoping to cover, but we didn't have time to get to that can make profound changes in your home, regardless of where you are. Yes, I believe that it's important in order to change your children's perceptions of themselves, in order to get them to buy into body trust and respect. You have to get there too, but you can start with small changes. And here are some of them at the end of the workbook, the body neutral parenting tips. I've also included books and articles for you. One of my favorites is the first one, Fat Talk Parenting in the Age of Diet Culture by Virginia Soule Smith. And if you like social media, I've included some Instagram accounts. I encourage you to book some time with me so that I can get to know you and help you with any kinds of issues that you might have, to help you get started and to see how we can create an approach for you that works for you. All right. So I will stop right there. And if you have questions, take it away. Anything goes.
I had this experience with my daughter the other day, which is not the first time that I've experienced this. So she's 5 and she comments on bodies all the time, other people's bodies, but especially my body. And um, I just never, I am very conscious not to react in a negative or positive way. But I guess I'm looking for what am I supposed to say? Like we were watching the Mets game the other day and there was an Ozempic commercial on. And she said, "Oh, so you could just put that thing on your belly button and then you lose weight? Mommy, you should get that." And I
Mhm.
was like, "Why do you think I should get that?" And she said, "To lose weight." And I said, "Well, I don't want to get that." She was like, "But I like it. I don't like it when you're heavy." And I said, "Well, does that change the way that you think of me?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Okay, well, you know, some people, everyone has different opinions of bodies, but one thing is that we don't want to talk about other people's bodies. You want to keep your opinions about other people's bodies to yourself or something like that." I just didn't know. I just
Yeah.
never know how to answer her.
Yeah.
I don't know where she gets these. Like because I was raised by a similarly diet conscious boomer who I was on a diet when I was 12. And so I really am so conscious about not
Yeah.
discussing that in front of her, but somehow, I don't know, she just
Yeah.
gets this. I don't know where she got it from. So, what
I
will you
know.
say?
Yeah, it is so distressing to hear comments like that. And it's true. You don't know where she got it from. But diet culture is so strong that she probably heard it at school or from a friend or from another parent or another caregiver. Um, but I think you handled it well. And also she strikes me as really smart if she's able to ask you these questions, these are like on a high level. So I wonder also if she's heard somebody ask these questions or comment on Ozempic. Um, so what would I say? Well, first of all, I think you said a lot of the right things. I would actually err on the side of answering with very little information.
Okay.
So you want to answer children's questions so that they have the information that they need, that they wanted to get from the question, and not any more. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So if she said, why, I tried to write it down. I don't like it when you are heavy. Um, you might have just said, okay. And what you could say is, bodies come in all shapes and sizes. And your body and my body and everybody's body are different. And one of my favorites is you're allowed to take up as much space in this world as you want. Another important thing is to try to reduce comments about appearance, just in general. Um, so even in the beginning, even things like, oh, I love your beautiful dress, and wow, you brushed your hair and such, so that the emphasis is on instead character, right? And things that you want them to do, skill building. So I I would again only answer the question that she asks. Don't give any more information.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Any
I
other?
guess I have another question.
Sure.
So you said, it's not good to put any sort of descriptors on food, like this is a health, like a good food or a bad food. Um, and I think that, like, how do you then differentiate between, broccoli and a cupcake?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So this is a long answer. Um, so the model that I like to follow is Ellen Satter's model, and it is the division of responsibility. Highly recommend this model. So it's Ellen, Ellynsatter. She actually has trainings as well and videos, free or paid. Um, some of her work has been criticized. She's been around for many decades, but for the most part, the division of responsibility by Ellen Satter is the gold standard in feeding children. All right, so the division of responsibility says that it's your job as a parent to provide food, decide what food, where, and when you're going to eat. And it's the child's responsibility to decide from the food that you've provided at the time that you've provided it, the place you've provided it, how much they want to eat. Now, a good way to make sure that you are leveling out the playing field in terms of good and bad foods is to put a lot of different foods, including desserts, and quote unquote junk food, which I don't like to use that word because again, it's labeling, not good, on the table so that all food is considered okay food. Now, when I say this to parents, for the most part, they freak out, and it's something I freaked out over too. And it's something that you kind of need support in order to do because there's a fear again that your kid is just going to eat the cupcakes all the time, the lollipops, the candy, the Halloween candy, the dessert they're going to just eat the dessert and never eat the broccoli. Now, a key a key part of this is to reduce your emotionality in the feeding process. So you're gonna see that your kid starts to gravitate towards the cupcake, and you're just gonna approach it with neutrality, like deadpan face, like, oh, nothing. There's no reason to comment on it because that food is completely acceptable. Over time, with support, this process leads to children who develop discernment, who develop a trust in their body's cues because you're giving them unconditional permission to eat what they want, and you're giving them an abundance of food. So it's this wonderful formula, which is abundance plus permission equals discernment. It takes time. It took me, I would say, probably about 18 months until I got to the point where actually, oh, there we go. Yeah, yeah. I'll look at that. It's really small on my screen. Oh yeah,
Oh,
hold
is it? Yeah.
on. Okay,
I was
hold
gonna
on.
say that I don't know if you have heard of her, but Kids Eat in Color. She's a dietitian,
Yeah.
Jennifer Anderson, I think is her name. But she has some great visuals and like printables, and your smart 5-year-old would probably get some of this even at her age, but like, she just keeps it very like just like Lemur's saying, like very factual and very, kind of appeal to what would be interesting to that. Like red food is really good for your heart, it helps your heart and your blood and like that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But she has
Yeah.
some cool things like that, I think, that are helpful.
Hmm. I have to say, I am not 100% sold on it just because, again, there is some labeling underneath here.
Yes,
So
there is. Yeah,
I,
totally.
yeah, so I don't really love that. I mean, I think if you've gotten to the place where you're noticing that your children are actually eating dessert as well as other food, and they're not placing value, like moral value, on dessert, then I think you can start with some of these things. And I want to just be clear that nutrition really matters, but your emotionality, your approach to food actually matters more than what they put in their mouths. Because your approach to food tells them whether or not you are valuing how they eat. And nobody can tell your child how to eat. Only your child can. Only your child knows their own body's cues. Now, there are a lot of issues, like I said, with this concept. It needs support, it needs a coach, and neurodivergent children have a hard time with this. But I believe that it is possible to access your natural body's cues if, again, you offer permission, unconditional permission, and abundance. It is scary. It's scary for you. It's scary for me. My husband was really scared. But I have to tell you that right now, we have a whole package of Oreo cookies sitting in the cupboard that they know about that nobody has eaten because we always have them. I bought donuts from ShopRite, put them on the table. That wasn't a sweet that they were interested in. So they know that they're going to get access to food. Now, my kids are teens. So, I mean, we went through this whole process maybe about 3.5, 4 years ago. So it's different with teens. I'll stop. Any other questions?
This one isn't really so, I don't know if it's really so much a question, but well, I guess it is because I wasn't exactly sure how to respond to it. So, 11-year-old daughter,
We were at a soccer game the other day watching a friend of hers, and at halftime, a mother ran out to the field with her daughter, and they were like kicking the ball around. And my daughter said, Mom, she's in such better shape than you are. Like, she can run without, and then she was like mimicking how, whenever I get up from the couch, like I'm kind of holding my lower back, all the creaks and all that. Um, and I was like, well, she is at least 10 years younger than me
Yeah.
by the looks of it. But
Yeah.
she was like, well, um, yeah, but maybe you should start going back to Orange Theory so that,
Mhm.
I was like, well, even if I went back to Orange Theory, I wouldn't be able to run out on the soccer field with you. That's not in the cards anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. She kind of left it at that, but
Yeah. Um, wow, like also what a like beautifully insightful child.
she
Um,
is. Yes, she is.
yeah. And like emotionally aware. So I guess I see that as an opportunity for her to tell you how it feels to have a mother who can't do what that other mother does. Because what you want her to eventually say is, I'm afraid of fatness. That's what you want her to eventually say. I'm not now, right? It's going to take
Yeah.
time, but that's what is underneath it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember internalized fat phobia? It's at the center of everything. So she's saying it's almost like waving a red flag. Also, because 11 and a half, preteen, she's waving a red flag saying, oh God, I don't want to be fat.
Mm-hmm.
She sees the difference between fatness and not fatness. It's your job for her to be able to express herself about all of that and for you to almost be silent. This is what I tell a lot of parents, like, just sit there, let her rip it, and just take it until she asks you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
and
will I will say, like, I did notice, and I was kind of glad. I don't know if glad is the right word. This speaks, I'm sure, to the diet culture that's ingrained in me. But this woman was not a thin woman. She was
Mhm.
not a small
Okay,
woman
okay,
at all. Like, so
I see.
it,
Oh, so
it
okay.
wasn't, I
Mhm.
mean, she was smaller than me, but not,
Mhm.
she's definitely wasn't someone gosh, she's really thin and in really good shape. Like, she wasn't like that at all. But it was, literally she could run out onto the field and kick the ball with her daughter. But
Yeah, I mean, is she aware that fat people can kick a ball as well? Is she aware that, like, there are many, fat dancers, fat mountain climbers? There's somebody who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro 3 times, weighing like over 300 pounds.
I mean, she
Um,
should. I
yeah.
don't, that, it's not, I mean, it's not something that, has been deliberately like she's been exposed to, but she hasn't not been exposed to it, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
A good
it's,
question though.
I call them like microaggressions where
Uh-huh.
you, you know,
Totally.
yeah, you may not hear about them, but like they're tiny little things that she overhears because she's so attuned to it. She's so smart and she's asking herself, like, where do I fit in all of this? How do I
Hmm.
identify with all of this?
Hmm.
Um, but I would encourage you to, is she on social media?
No. I
Yay.
mean, she
Okay.
not like her own account or anything. She
Okay.
watched like different videos, but not,
Hmm.
she's not like on it like with her own account or anything like that.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, one of the things you can do, oh, I can also give you some book recommendations. I have to look some up for you. But what I would say is to, give her access to all different body types and
Hmm.
their abilities to do stuff. I mean, we just don't value it. So that
Yeah.
they're not, yeah, but you could also you could say like um it has nothing to do, like your body type has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to kick a ball.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't run anymore. I used to run like 20 years ago. I don't run anymore.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's so hard. But if I tried really hard, I would probably be able to run,
Hmm.
even though I'm over 200 pounds and 5'3". So, it would take a lot of strength training and a lot of time, just like any other person.
Yeah.
So, you want to she's calling out weight stigma.
Hmm.
She's saying, I have weight stigma. She is telling you that, which is like a total gift because now you can find times where you see it again and you could even ask questions also. How does that make you feel? It's a great one.
Hmm.
What are you thinking about?
Hmm.
You could also go back to it and say, oh, I was just thinking back on that. And I was just wondering, do you have any other thoughts about that? And try to do it at a time where there's no distractions or few distractions, where it's like you and her in this like try to make it like tender, this moment where, you're bonding, there's connection so that she's already like in an emotionally safe environment, that she
Right.
already feels, like, all right, I'm being taken care of emotionally here. I can
Hmm.
express myself. Um,
Thank you. Those are good suggestions.
you're welcome. It's so tough. It's so, so hard. Yeah. Anything else, Brett? Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
You are welcome, guys. Please make it an appointment to hang out with me on Zoom for 30 or 60 minutes. And um, that's all. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye bye.